Let's go back to a time when an instrumental jazz tune could still make the pop charts. Hey, I'm Ron Drotos, and welcome to the 127th video in my Journey Through the Real Book series. I hope it's your journey through the real book as well. This is Wes Montgomery's 4 on 6, and the reason I said that at the beginning of the video was I remember in the mid-'80s I was studying with the great jazz pianist Billy Taylor, mainly during the summer at a summer workshop, and then I'd see him a little bit throughout the year. And I remember I found one of his old records in a used record bin or something. They used to sell them in the back of the stores or whatever, used records. And he had a lot of albums in the 50s and 60s with his trio or quartet. And I forget which one it was, but I remember each song on it, like, But Not For Me and Jazz Standards, each song was only about 3.5 minutes long. And for me at the time, I'm like, wait, I want to hear you stretch out. I want to hear you play for like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. So I called him up and I said, I love the album and I, love to discover this, but I'm just curious, why didn't you play longer? And he said, Ron, what you don't realize is that back then, this was for radio play. They would record, That would make the charts, that would make the top 40 sometimes even. And indeed, like I think it's 1964, when the Beatles had the number 1, 2, 3, 4 spots on the Billboard charts, the song that displaced them for number 1 was Hello Dolly, Louis Armstrong. So, it could still happen in the late 50s and the 60s, and the jazz musicians did this intentionally. Wes Montgomery was right there. He developed a style of playing guitar, influenced George Benson, for instance. And his style was bluesy, yet rooted in jazz at a time when people still knew the standards. They were still in recent memory and still being performed at that time. And also the bluesy thing, everybody could relate to the blues. It was still in the culture too. And also sort of this soulfulness that came out as a reaction against the sort of complexities of bebop. People were playing. That became soul jazz, like Herbie Hancock's Watermelon Man, or later Chameleon, and The Sidewinder by Lee Morgan. And 4 on 6 was right there, the melody very bluesy. The color, and now it goes into 2/5s, but with a catchy rhythm, Charleston rhythm actually. The Charleston rhythm, bum, 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 and then this unexpected hit. Very much with that swing rhythm, but not in an overly sort of, bebop-y kind of jazz. More in a way that the general public, if they heard it, would be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Remember, 10, 12 years later, Van Morrison had a big hit with Moondance. Same kind of feel as this, really. Just the same thing, same groove, bringing groove to it. Still back in those days. So this starts with just this bass line. I was thinking what I could do on piano, because it's not really interesting on the piano as it is with the bass guitar and the drums playing. So I've been experimenting with kind of doing this, doing it in the right hand, and playing some roots down here, and kind of getting the more swing feeling. This bum, 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 almost like playing congas. So I'm going to start with that and see where it takes me. These Wes Montgomery tunes are a lot of fun. I've talked about that before in these videos. They're not tunes that pianists usually play. It's not like, hey, piano trio, let's play some Wes Montgomery. But I think it's a great way to set ourselves apart. If you're playing some gigs, this is the kind of tune that, if it's, whether it's background music or a featured concert or whatever, just gets the audience, sort of grooving, patting their foot, Count Basie used to say, snapping their fingers maybe, whatever it is. And again, you can get as bebop as you want, or keep it bluesy. Kind of pop in within that groove. Whichever way you go, check out the tune, and next week we'll be on to Freddie Freeloader, just moving through the book. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Any way I can help you with your playing, let me know. Check out KeyboardImprov.com if you want step-by-step lessons or personal Skype connection, or my blog, posting just about every day. Really enjoying it. I really appreciate you being here once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Good luck with your playing.